All right, everyone, welcome back. We have with us right now the developers behind Sprawl. If you guys would care to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so my name's Rio.
I'm James.
Okay, Rio, James, can you tell us a little bit about your roles on this project?
So I did the 3D models, the assets, a lot of the UI and title stuff, basically all the art stuff for it. And James did basically everything else, all the programming, the coding and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, chat, if you can let us know how does the audio mix sound for the interviewees versus the game, that would be great. Okay, great. So, how did you decide to make this game for the Jam?
Well, really, we weren't even sure if we were going to enter it. I'd only kind of heard of the GMTK guys, and James, I don't know if you have before.
Yeah, no, only I guess a few weeks back as well, so pretty new.
Yeah. So I think I saw on the Itchio page that they were doing a jam, and we'd only ever done 2 games before this for like 2 of the weekly Itchio jams. So yeah, it was all still kind of new to us, and we were like, oh, let's try this one. It seems to be a lot more popular, and it might be interesting to enter. And we were sort of touch and go because James is also expecting a baby literally any day.
Oh my goodness! Well, congratulations.
So we weren't sure if we'd had to like drop out or whatever, but it was still good. So we kind of was like, right, okay, if it's a good theme and we get a good idea, let's just go for it. And then we got the theme, and we had a little Discord call, and James immediately thought of a game called Conway's Game of Life, and I have no idea what this is, so I googled it, but James might want to explain how it links to our game a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Conway's Game of Life is fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I mean, it's this. I guess it's called a game, but it's not sort of a typical game in the sense that we developers tend to think of it. But it's this sort of autonomous system where tiles sort of interact with other tiles, depending on how many there are around them, where they grow and they decline. And it turns out this is like a Turing complete system, so you can make like arbitrarily complicated programs with it. But it's really cool. But it really sort of the out of control vibe is sort of captured there, I think, by things that grow exponentially. So I wanted to play around that idea a little bit, and after some discussion with Rio, who has sort of more experience with some mobile games with similar vibes to us, we decided to move towards the idea of a city sprawling out, where it sort of grows out to its neighbors, like in Conway's Game of Life.
Yeah, so a lot of my inspirations were sort of, and people have picked them out really, sort of. Triple Town was a mobile game and a web game that a lot of people played and was really, really nice. And a lot of people have pointed out 2048, but honestly, that didn't really come up. There's a game called 20 that is sort of a different take on 2048 that I showed James when we started, and it's all sort of the same thing where you try and pull together similar things in order to make them bigger. And yeah, we came up with this city game where it just grows, and a lot of people have sort of taken away these sort of political messages from this as well, which completely not intended in any way. But glad people are sort of enjoying it and taking their own and getting their own takes from it.
Yeah, sure. As long as it's nothing damaging, I guess. So, what was your development process? What was your development process on the game? How did you put it together?
So again, we knew we didn't want to spend loads and loads of time on it. So we basically scoped out really base mechanics. And knew that we just wanted to see how we'd get on. Stuff like the orthographic camera to get the sort of isometric viewpoint was really key for us. We were like, let's get that down, let's get the grid system down. And James got down this sort of really basic grid system that just had numbers representing the sort of different tiers. And that was all in the first couple of hours. Because obviously the game was announced sort of at like 8 p.m. UK time for me, and James is in Canada. So James has managed to get that done in the first couple hours. I, funny enough, just managed to get all the models done in probably about 2 to 3 hours. like all the models you see here, you know, they were really, really simple. Just did them quickly in Blender, and yeah, we managed to get all that down within the first sort of day. Put it all together on the Saturday. You know, then from that point on, we just started doing a lot of playtesting. And we knew really early on, so our objective for this was really to make sure the game felt good to play. You know, a lot of the gameplay stuff came afterwards for us. It was the making sure the game felt good. It was, yeah, you know, then we ended up with this bouncy sort of feel, which I think looks amazing. And James, you know, handled that side of it. And a lot of and we have to thank a lot of our friends who playtested the game for us, like odd hours of the night, just to make sure it was running okay. And it was, I think, sort of Saturday evening to Sunday. That whole last day was really just playtesting and iterating for us, which, you know, we were really, really thankful that we were able to get to that stage. And we weren't, you know, sort of rushing to get last minute mechanics in on the last day or anything.
Yeah, nice. Is there anything beyond this like sword looking building here? Or if I reach the pinnacle?
There's two more tiers?
Two more.
For goodness sake, how many models did you create? This is nuts.
There are 11 tiers, and there's the trees and rocks and stuff are separate as well.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say... Go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I had nothing else.
Oh, all I was going to say is, are you guys experienced game developers? Because this definitely feels like the product of people who have been around the block, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, maybe I can take this one, Rio.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, we've been working on our own, so we decided to pull together and work on developing a game about like 3-4 months ago now.
Yeah.
So we had this sort of main project called Architect that we've been developing for a while, which you can check out on our Twitter, Glasstone Games. But otherwise, we had sort of some of our pals we convinced to enter some game jams with us to get a bit of practice. But I think we came into it with sort of a few months ago. We came into it a bit of an advancement because we both come from fields that are sort of directly relevant to game development. And so, you know, I'm a PhD student in machine learning. I have a lot of computer science experience. Like, I was a software engineer for a while, so all that stuff comes pretty naturally to me. And Rio is sort of an animator, professional animator, and has been picked up all the 3D modeling stuff super quick. And, you know, people love the visuals in our game, which is really a testament to how quickly he's picked up all the tools needed there as well.
Yeah, I think I started learning Blender 3 months ago. And but I mean, I have a big animator background. I'm a big graphic designer as well, freelance. So yeah, the design stuff is definitely our trade, and James obviously is a massive, really amazing with the code. Just like throw him a task and he'll get it done in like 2 hours. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Which definitely helps, but we're definitely not like game designers or anything like that at all.
I think the game design part normally is the trickier bit for us, but I think it came together really nicely for this submission.
Yeah, I'd say everything came together quite nicely. So I think there we go. I finally reached the final tier with these guys.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
All right. Would you say there was any particularly clever hack or shortcut that you ended up having to use to pull this off?
There's a few modeling ones that definitely cut down my time. Like I said, I got a lot of the models done really early. And it links to something with the camera as well. A lot of people have given us some feedback about the camera, and you know, they would have liked to see it rotated. The buildings only have 2 faces.
Right.
The back faces don't do anything, which obviously saved me a lot of time. But if we sort of came across the camera problem sort of late into development, and some of our playtesters sort of mentioned it. And we had something in place, it just didn't look good, so we didn't want to sort of ship it with it. And that's partly because the models were sort of hacked together. Definitely not, you know, AAA ready at all. Just don't look at the,
you know, such as Game Jam
or anything.
I wouldn't have been surprised. Like, so obviously you can pan the camera in and out, so you do get this like top-down view of these these buildings. But I wouldn't have been surprised if you'd have just told me that these were all just 2D billboards. But obviously to support this, it's not an option.
Yeah, and I think both of us were really keen, and we have done for all of our jams, to do 3D, because I think we just don't have a lot of experience with 2D game design, even though that's sort of what everyone else has been doing. We just didn't really know how it worked. I tried to get an animated sprite on the title screen and couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So
Unity does not make that easy. I wrote an entire extension myself to handle that because I don't want to have to constantly deal with the animator for every single animated element I ever want.
Yeah, I really tried Googling it, and I just like, my brain can't comprehend it. I'm done.
Yeah, no. So I guess you kind of naturally answered my other question, which is, was there anything that you had to cut in order to finish the game on time? But is there anything else?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of environment stuff that we wanted to add. And James, I don't know if you had anything else for the clever hack stuff.
I mean, of course, it's a game jam, so for the coding, we took lots of shortcuts. I don't think I'd say any of them were particularly clever. I guess none of them are super interesting because they're all back-end, but one example is the grid mesh is actually redrawn, created and redrawn like every time you interact with the game.
Yeah.
So that means we can't scale up to big like 50 by 50 grids. But for this, even in WebGL, it seems to run fine. So we're just like, it works, it's broken, it's fixed, just leave it. So I mean, that was one particularly heinous shortcut we took that paid off in the end. But yeah, I guess I'll continue answering your next question, which is, do we need to cut or change anything? I think that the main thing that didn't pan out as we'd originally planned was we wanted to have a bit of an environment outside of the grids, right? So there's like floating plane, which I think looks fine, like it sort of fits the aesthetic. But we originally planned to have this area outside that the city was sprawling into, like a nice forest or like, some sort of nature-y area. But in the end, I think it would have been a lot more than 48 hours to get that to look nice, not clutter the screen, and make it clear that's not the playable area. So while I think that'd be nice in the final product, I think it would be pretty difficult to make that intuitive for the Game Jam submission.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw this out to chat. If there are any questions that you have for either of the developers here, please add them in the chat there. And in the meantime, while we give the chat some time to ask those questions, I wanted to kind of lead on. You sort of started to touch upon it there, but is there anything, plans for developing this game going forward?
We've already had this conversation, that's me and James, about, because I think a lot of people sort of have already recommended, a mobile game of this would be really, really cool. It definitely fits that sort of that vibe. So we're looking at implementing a lot of the changes people have said. We've already got on our local builds camera rotation that works well enough. Different colored rooftops, which was a big one. A lot of them have the same, so when you go top down, it's kind of hard to see like which ones you're doing. And we're hoping to add different challenge features, so like different shaped maps that provide a different sort of problem for you to sort of deal with. But yeah, mobile's definitely the way we're going to go, with maybe like an updated version on Itchio.io.
Okay, cool. Well, that definitely, I guess, I think that's just about everything that I had to ask. So is there anything else, any other insights that you want to share that in the development of this project?
Yeah, I think there's one thing I would add, which I guess we got away with not mentioning so far. I think we gave the impression that the game was very well planned, scoped out really well from the start, and everything went great. I mean, that's definitely not the case. As always, we had to sort of like rein ourselves in a little bit. And actually, I mean, I see on the stream you've been playing the Zen mode. The other mode, the challenge mode, was actually what we intended the game to be from the beginning. And having both modes was really nice. One of our playtesters recommended that. But the challenge mode is the one where you have to stop the city scrolling out to the edges. And we actually only wrote up the code and the visuals for that about an hour before we submitted the game. So really, we were like rolling the dice on whether that would even work. So I mean, that was one thing that could have potentially gone very wrong, but turned out great. We think. So yeah, I guess just like everybody else putting the game jam stuff in, it's super hard to control yourself and prevent feature creep happening even in a small period of time. But it was a lot of fun, like finding that back and see what we could get at the end.
Yes, and I am just letting the game play itself now because this is the Zen mode, because I figured that was the best way that I could both have gameplay footage of the game up while maintaining a conversation and chat. So I'm going to put the link to the game so you can try it out yourselves, see if you can play it more intentionally, try out the non-Zen mode. That is just the Zen mode. Yeah, that's why I've just been raking in this ridiculous score. Is the score going to be the same for the board filling up no matter what?
Yeah, because it's just attached to. There's a score attached to each tier of building, so it's just going to be a blanket. I don't know what the top score is, James. I don't know what the number comes out to. But
I think it's 400,000 and something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in Zen mode, it's pretty easy to rack up the points. They don't really mean anything. In challenge mode, the highest score we have right now is one of our friends who's been playing it a fair bit since we published it. He's got about 32,000 points, which is insane to us. That's so high. Most people get about 2,000 or so on challenge mode, but he's crushing it somehow.
Well, I guess the other thing we're going to see pretty shortly is what happens when the complete entire board fills up.
I'll give you a spoiler, it's nothing.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would just come to a dead end. That, or we get an interesting overflow error.
Yeah.
Luckily, no overflow bugs.
Okay, well...
if anyone's playing it till the end, then I already applaud him, so...
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just before we wrap up here, do you guys have anything you want to plug? Are your Twitter handles on this page here?
It's not on that page, but it's just at Glass Tome Games. I can put it in the chat for you.
At Glass Tome Games. Okay, yeah, please do put it in the chat.
I will just link the Twitter. That might be easier.
And check out our Twitter we're definitely trying to convince people to play Sprawl, but we also have some fun, procedurally generated bits, which are always a joy to look at. And you can see some information on the game we've been working on for the past few months, Architect, there too.
Oh, this is great. I think this stream is going to wrap up almost exactly in time with this board filling up. So
intended.
Well done, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to cut you off just yet. We do still have some time. So chat, any other questions, ask them now or never. Otherwise, I will let these fine folks go because what time is it there for you guys?
It's 3:45 for me.
Oh, that's not so bad. I've got some other people from France and Sweden who are significantly later in the day for them.
Yeah. Yeah, we have an Instagram as well, which is just the same handle.
Glass Tome Games.
We post a lot the same. Yeah, so if anyone does want to check out the stuff we do, it's I think a lot of visual stuff is stuff that we like to make, so.
Cool. Right, I mean, we do have, I guess, one last question here from Gigaz, which is, where are you from? I don't know if he's asking that to me or to you, but I'll just respond real quick. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and if you guys want to say where you're based?
So I'm from the UK and still based here.
And I'm originally from the UK, but I'm actually also living in Toronto, Ontario right now.
Okay, cool. I think that there are a surprising number of other developers who are going to be on the stream today who ended up being based here in Toronto. So,
oh, nice.
A lot of fun coincidences. And that was totally incidental. I wasn't cherry picking Toronto developers, but it just happened to work out that way. Well, I think we're going to start winding things down here. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the stream today. And best of luck with the project going forward. I look forward to seeing where it goes.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.